Vaso Bhagava Samma Sambuddho Swakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipanno Yassa Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Dhammayam Bhagavantam Sasammam Sasangham Imehi Sakare Yataraham Arobhite Yadeko Jayama Sadhuno Bhante Bhagava Suchira Parene Bhutopi Pachima Janatanukam Pamanasa Ime Sakare Dutratapana Karapute Patitan Hato Amakandi Karatan Hitaya Sukaya Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi Vakakoa Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sangham Namami Anmaya Buddhasa Bhagavato Pupapaka Namakaram Karomase Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Good evening, everyone, and good morning. We'll sit for, I won't give any instruction in this session, so we'll meditate for 45 minutes, and then take a 5-minute break, and then I'll try to offer some Dhamma reflections. So let's sit quietly for 45 minutes. You're the person. Okay. Very good.
Amachalokadipati sahampati katanjaleana devaramaya chatta santira sahata parajakajatika Deset Dahaman Anukam Pavanthijam.
This one. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. The shirts can have that, the shirts.
If they put enough dots.
People know. If you'd like a t-shirt, please help yourselves. Those t-shirts were made by our Yongpung, some Thai friends. They manufactured them, sponsored them, and sent them. So it can be Team Tisarana. I wanted to. This one. I want to establish a daily puja to begin or end the day. What should I include in puja? Puja is devotion, rituals of devotion. What is the best morning? What is the best morning or evening? P.S. I'll maintain my meditation practice as well. So that's a great idea. The rituals. Say if I am a young university student and I have to go to an examination and I'm afraid, and I develop a ritual that if I step over every crack in the concrete, I'll be okay. Right? That's a ritual to deal with my fear. And in some sense, you could see, the person is trying to take hold of the chaos of the universe and make order out of it. So they make order out of it by stepping over every crack. Trouble is, hello. Trouble is, it's coming from fear. So if they came across pavement was all cracked, now how do I get to the exam room? And it might actually exacerbate fear. The fear would have a panic attack. Okay, so that's what we call Siddhabhata Paramasa, attachment to rites and rituals, and that's one of the fetters of one of the that's what prevents us from seeing Dharma, because we're caught in fear. And it's always a sense of self around that. Puja is obviously something like this ritual that we did now is puja. That's devotional chanting. And you could see if you had that in your life and you started every morning with that, and it was a ritual which you undertook from a sense of wholesomeness, from a sense of order in the universe, not from fear, but you're setting the order of importance in your life. So if one were to develop puja, then man, you have a Buddha shrine, you have a Buddha image. And this fellow, Barton, he's an Ottawa. If you need one, let me know. I have a few. I'm in business. So please come to visit the monastery. But so then the Buddha image becomes one that you look at and you venerate. I was thinking about, like, we know what venerate means, do we? Like we say venerable. I say venerable to the monks rather than just hey George, because the Buddha asked us to do that, to use honorifics in addressing each other, to revere, to venerate. This is language that we know, but in a secular culture, we don't tend to use it that much. But it's very much used in cultures of traditional religion. Now, I know a lot of us find some of the histories of traditional religion are pretty shocking. So there's a natural tendency in organized religion. I don't know. I don't want that. So, but you don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater kind of thing. So in Buddhism, if you have a Buddha which you know is given to you by someone, or just you have a lot of appreciation for it, and you look at it each day, and then you have a corner of your house which is just dedicated to that. It's not just on the mantle along with your elephant and the knitting that your granddaughter did or something. That it has some significant place, and you don't put it on the floor and use it as a doorstop. There was someone in New Zealand who was doing that. So veneration. So then you start. Now this becomes an object of veneration. So that's not superstition. It's developing a state of mind which cares about something, because that something is a symbol of an inner value which is of importance. So say like a Buddha image, you would never pick it up from the head, because in Asia, touching the head is a sacred place. You don't, like, people don't touch each other's heads. A monk might like bless a child or something like that, but generally don't. So it becomes, okay, that's the place of, you don't do that. Now, you could say that's superstitious, but it doesn't have to be. So a person could, touch the head of the Buddha. Oh, I'm going to go to hell. That's fear, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. And so then you have the problem of rituals in cultures, where cultures do this again and again and again and again the same way, and they don't see that it is a symbolic gesture. And then if someone does pick up the Buddha by the head, they yell at the person, "You idiot. Would the Buddha want that? What are you doing, you fool?" And that becomes sila bhatta paramasa, attachment to rites and rituals. Having said that, to have a ritual of care and concern, so that you place the Buddha at a level which is somewhat exalted, not like with your carpentry books down below. So it has a place of importance. And then you make it big enough where you could have some flowers. And then, like, Venerable Misu's dad plucks flowers for his shrine every morning. And plucks, we were thinking about plucks and picks. He has a more Victorian language. Picks, plucks. But he loves it. He absolutely loves it. And he really, really loves it. So here's a man, he's about my age, a bit younger, is he? Yeah, but same age. And I mean, I can totally understand that. You look at the flower, you look at the most beautiful one, you pluck it, you put it in a vase, and then he takes it and puts it on his shrine. Now, all of that is very wholesome. You're kind of looking and caring, and there's a sense of devotion there. So then, and like the first thing I did this morning was my shrine. I took out the old flowers, I lit the candle, I dusted it, and I put the value system that I value first by doing a ritual. It's lovely. It's really, really lovely. And then you have maybe a candle. So I have these little tea lamps. I go through millions. I'm just like always lighting the candle, and it's safe, right? We're like a monastery, so we're always concerned that the monastery is going to burn down. So be careful of candles, it's safe. And then incense. I have throat problems, so I don't light incense. But you light some incense, and now that's all done in a way of gratitude, reverence, veneration. It doesn't really matter what the language is, but you get the feeling of it. And then you do it every day, every morning. So you set up the value system. Dharma is important, sila is important. So the symbology, although it's not so important, because we don't usually, when we look at a shrine, we don't deconstruct it with the intellect, but just one of the ways we look at the symbology of the shrine, the Buddha, when you look at the Buddha, it's the idea of being awake. So there's both Buddha as enlightened being, so there can be gratitude and awe for that. But if that's not close to you because it's too cultural or too historical, there's also the sense of being awake. So if you, and I always talk about this, if you're choosing a Buddha image to please you aesthetically, that's okay, we will do that. But if you saw a Buddha image with, the ears were lopsided or the nose was too big and it wasn't aesthetically pleasing to you, if you notice that in your mind as a perception, then you're practicing refuge in Buddha. Because you're noticing, well, that's a perception. And then now I know, this is a perception. So you're practicing knowing. Or when you see a stupa, a jeti, it reminds you of the knowing. A bodhi tree, different symbology. So then every day you do that with, like, the Tibetans. They're fabulous shrines, and then they'll do things like they'll light 1,000, they'll devote 1,000 candles to a certain shrine, an image. Now, if you're really sort of efficient, you say it's a bit of a waste of candles. You burn the place down. But then you might get the Tibetan, if you go to Bodh Gaya, you see this Tibetan nuns there. The last time I think it was a Tibetan nun. She was blissed out. She was really, really blissed out. So it can be a culture. So for this person, I would say, create the art of your shrine. Right? It might be a tanka like this one, or and then, like on one of my many shrines, I have a picture of the first monk that I met who got me into Dharma, Venerable Jnanasuchi, who was then Bodhisattva. And then I have a picture of my preceptor as a Samanera, Tachakun Brahm. And then I have a picture of Luang Por and a picture of Ajahn Smedo. And each time I look at those pictures, there is a sense of reverence and respect and gratitude just by looking at the pictures. And so you can see that having that as a focus puts the world in order, the world of chaos, because it's it's your doing from your own heart, and reminds you of the system of values. And then, so one's teachers, and a lot of people have shrines like that because they can relate to teachers very nicely. So then, in terms of chanting, this short chant that we do, it's very easy to memorize, or when we, on the Zoom sessions, we do Itipiso, very, very, very easy to memorize. You do memorize them, and you chant that every day. And you could say, you could do the English, or you could do the Pali, but again, you do that every day. Now, sometimes it becomes parrot talk, right? That's all right. You do it, and you don't try to jazz it up with electric guitar. You can do that, and it'd be interesting. But that's not the idea. It's not like entertainment. It's ritual. It's ritual. So hopefully, the doing of the ritual, the bowing, and the bowing carefully, and then the chanting begin to put the sense of what your direction is in life, and not in any particular intellectual way, just because your body is doing it, your voice is doing it, the imagery is doing it for you as well. So in terms of mornings or evenings, I think morning practice is very important. When you, like I said, when you come out of the sleep state, there is usually some mood's been percolating through the dreams, and that mood then conditions how the sense of self gets formed. So if you had an anxious dream about health issues or something, then my anxiety dream was always, I'm missing the plane. It's always the same one. I'm at the airport. Where's the gate? Where's my passport? That was my anxiety dream. So then if that was very close to the waking state, then it would be there. And then it's actually really clear. Oh yeah, and you see how the sense of self arises contingent on that particular mood, birth of self into consciousness from that mood. And if you really make a clear determination to really notice the mood of the mind when you wake up, then you'll see how the sense of self is arising in that mood. And you put it down. You can lay it down. You don't have to get reborn. You still have to go to work, but you don't have to go to work as a grump, say, or whatever it is. So then that then is enhanced by meditation, hopefully. So you have a shower, brush your teeth, have a coffee, whatever you like to do, but you make the morning meditation part of the puja. So do the puja, and then you do the meditation. That takes self-discipline, and it's that's what people come on retreats. But the morning is the time where you usually have a chance to get up before everyone else, if you're a morning person, and it is your time. And it's the world hasn't started to churn up and stir up. And if you can do that as a part of the ritual, then that so enhances your day. I think all of us who do that realize if you miss that, your mind can be kind of scratchy. And you kind of wish I had done that, even if it's like you're nodding or whatever. So I would say that morning chunk is very helpful, very, very important. So then in the evening, it seems to be much more difficult to meditate, partially because, especially if you're working a regular job, you kind of want to veg out, I think, quite often. It's just so then it's more difficult if you can sit. Then if you can't sit, but at least you could do the ritual. That's the beauty of a ritual. It's active. So even if just for 10 minutes you do the ritual, you take the time, and in a society where time is a commodity, and people, maybe during COVID, people had more time. Huh? I don't know. I'm not sure more time. If you have more time, it's kind of cool. Anyway, if you could, anytime you can break up this relentless pursuit of the future, this kind of relentless ticking off of lists, that's very helpful. Sometimes you can't, sometimes you just have a lot of responsibility. You just have to get on with it. You don't have the space. Fair enough, you do the best you can. But if you can in the evening too, so you just light the candle mindfully and actually look at the picture. And do some chanting or like loving kindness chant. These things done day in and day out are very, very fruitful. And Ajahn Chai insisted that Ajahn Luang Por too, because a lot of monasteries, they said, we don't need to do that. All we need to do is meditate. And I disagree with that, because we need to be together as community, but also I think the rituals are helpful. So Sila Bhatta Paramasa is the misuse of ritual. And it's one of three fetters. You often hear about it. And the three fetters are a teaching which point to the aspects of ignorance which prevent you from seeing Dharma. And so you could see even if my meditation technique was a kind of ritualized thing I did because I felt this was the only way to do it, and I just kept sort of doing it because I thought that at some point in time I will reach enlightenment, that would still be Sila Bhatta Paramasa, because it's based on me becoming something. And transcendence is something here and now, Akalika Dhammo. So there is that too in meditation. It becomes a me ritual. I do this so I can get that. The other fetter is Sakkaya Ditthi, which I mentioned before, personality view. And you could see how if I take my resentments personally, I'll never be free of resentment, because I always blame someone. The third fetter is doubt. And doubt is always the attachment to thought. Think enough and you'll doubt, especially if you think about yourself. That's really going to take you to doubt. Functional thought is great. Analytical thought, that's fine. But the tendency of the mind always to be preoccupied with thinking, it takes you to doubt. And so that we want to know as an object rather than always be caught in it. But yeah, I'm glad Barton asked this question. Like some groups, well, like they'll do Buddhist teaching, but they say, yeah, we're beyond imagery. So they have a rock. Oh, great. It's a nice rock. And you get 2,600 years of beautiful art. But you could see there is an aversion to religious forms because religious forms have been superstitious and more than that. So I mean, it's understandable. But also when you go to Bodh Gaya or you go to Thailand and you see how, or you go to, like, I just thought of those shrines in the fields of Bali. Oh, they're just so artistic and so in a culture that has rituals like that, we have Christmas, I suppose, right? That's a bit of a ritual, but that's become a bit of a feed, I suppose. I'm not sure. It depends how your family takes Christmas, a family gathering. But whether it's Islam or Christianity or Judaism, Yom Kippur, they can be used beautifully in society as ways of social cohesion and all manner of good things. So in Thailand, like Vesak, the full moon of May, we celebrate the birth, enlightenment, and parinibbana of the Buddha. That's one of the biggest days. And then like at Wat Pah Pong, there'll be, I don't know, thousands of people coming together, and it's a great feeling. And there, the lay people come, and they actually every Uposatha day, every one praxis, which is the kind of Buddhist Sunday around Ajahn Chah's monasteries. People will come and spend the whole day at the monastery and keep the 8 precepts. It's usually the older women, because their kids are grown up and they have a strong affinity to the monastery. Men too, but mostly it's the older women. And they come and they meditate all day. And then they meditate all night in Ajahn Chah's monastery. They're really right till 4 a.m. And like some of these women, you can see they're with their minds really with it. I try to keep up with them sometimes, but they chew betel nut. That was inspiring. Inspiring to see people whose culture was around great teachers like Ajahn Chah, and all the villages around. They had this really high sense of morality, aspiration. They would offer alms and then come for the posted days. And he said it really gave them structure, beautiful structure, and vision, and that. Really lovely to see. Very generous people. So yeah, ritual. Go for it. Okay, this retreat I have had a losing struggle with sleepiness. Besides periodic standing from a sitting meditation, is there a skillful way to stand for a whole meditation? Thank you from Sleepyhead. Very humble. And I have enough sleep. Mind is alert and calm when I wake up. I do some chanting, then Luang Por's guided meditation. However, after 10 to 15 minutes, my head gets heavy. Have tried straightening the spine with breathing exercises or changed to walking and lying down. Tried using it's like this and observing the sensations and characteristics of heaviness. If I accept it, I wake up from a doze, alert again, and then the heaviness returns and overwhelms again. So that's what we call a nivarana, or a hindrance to meditation. And it's a very difficult one to get past, because like anger, at least you know you're angry. pain, at least you know it hurts. But and restlessness, you know you don't want to be here. But dullness, you don't know you're here. It's a very tricky one. Well, in terms of the first question, if I've never developed standing meditation, so whoever asked the question, if you would look up Ajahn Sucitto's work, he teaches Qigong and Tai Chi, and he does it. I think he would be the best person in our tradition that knows it's something you would experiment with. And I never tried it myself. I tried it, once or twice. But so most people have that challenge of dullness, and I had that early on as a monk. Don't know how long it lasted, maybe 6 months or so. I can't remember. But so I first of all, it was like one of the monks said I was sleepy in meditation, and I said, "No, I'm not." Proud young monk, but he got. I mean, it was a very kind thing to do. I was too proud to admit. No. I was just relaxed. So then I realized that it's true, and so I knew I had to see the arising of that nivarana into consciousness, and I wasn't seeing the arising; I was in it, and I also saw in my own body that my body rhythms around 10 in the morning, I get sleepy, even if I've had a good rest. Something about my body rhythm. So I realized there's that too. And then for this person, I also say there can be health issues like hypoglycemia or anemia. There's all kinds of things. So you want to check all of that out. Having done all that, having had a good rest, having had maybe a little bit of caffeine, then if it's like chronic and it's happening all the time, then it's certainly a nivarana. And so the way I worked with it is I at some point I'd know I'm drowsy. Now I hated that state of mind. This is horrible. So I realized, well, aversion's not going to help. So at first I was just trying to get rid of it with aversion, but then it would overwhelm me. And I said, no, you have to investigate this. Now, how do you investigate something that you're asleep to? Kind of oxymoron. And I realized I have to, when I know I'm sleepy, I have to stop meditating. Because whatever I'm doing in the meditation is actually making me sleepy. And so, okay, just stop meditating. So then that was the first sort of right thinking, to get that in my head, rather than, oh, I'm sleepy. Watch the breath. No, stop meditating. Look around. So then I just started to look around. So other monks, nothing. Look around, I just break the meditation. Okay, this is presence now. Okay, I've got that. Then I'd set up a strong posture. And I really feel my spine and neck, and I try to keep my eyes open. I say, where's the arising of this mood? How does it come into consciousness? Because it's not here now. And then I'll be gone again. All right, start again. Pick it up. Okay, stop meditating. Whatever you're doing, stop. Look around. Okay, it's not there now. I know it's not there now. When does it begin? And I just had to do that again and again and again. So then as I begin to see it's arising, as it was, and it was mostly, it's brain fog, isn't it? It's like oatmeal in your brain. and the heaviness, oh, wow, it's heavy. So then as arising, the earlier I could notice it's arising and brighten the mind was better, obviously. So then I learned that in the arising of that nivarana into consciousness, as my body got heavy, that's when I would start to, and I developed a very strong hara, really kind of open and quite forcefully pushing outwards and opening my chest and pushing the back of my neck up. And then I would have to hold it sometimes for the whole 40 minutes. Really kind of extreme yoga. until it cleared. And so I learned how to do that. So it probably took me like 6 months or something. But what are you going to do, right? You could say, well, if I wasn't sleepy, I could meditate. Great. So it's, for me, it was the idea of investigation rather than conquering. So before that, I was just trying to get rid of it. So there's a lot of aversion there too. And I was young enough to put a lot of energy into it. Then I also tried to push sleep, and then I got extreme, and then I experimented with sleep. And then I would like try not to sleep for a week or two. And that was dumb. Really dumb. But as a young guy, you try these things. So then I just had to figure out, what does this body need in terms of sleep? Because some monks, they're really good. They could meditate, they could sleep a couple of hours, and like Luang Por, and he could just do samadhi. He didn't have to sleep sometimes. But I had to determine my own. So then I experimented with fasting. That wasn't smart either. So I didn't eat for 10 days. I tried that one. I did water. Stuff, young monks do this kind of stuff. Now I have milk in my coffee. And I don't feel guilty. Yeah. But so young monks will do that partially because you like to experiment and see, but partially because you're stupid. And you're young, right? And you're willful, and so on and so forth. They're beyond. They're old. And so with sleep, I've had seizures. I've had grand mal seizures from lack of sleep, and one of them was in trying to push my sleep envelope. And fortunately, it wasn't epilepsy. But then you can be careful, and I kind of moderate my sleep. But the dullness was then not from a lack of sleep. It was just the mind just would go into that kind of brain fog until I figured it out. And now I can, kind of understand the body. As I get older, I actually, sleep is like less sleep needed, I guess. Anyway, so with this person, I would say the clue is investigation, and then changing posture and things like that. But finally, if you remember, I often read the Enlightened Peace from Luang Por. Remember that? And like a few days before, he's having these incredibly blissful states of mind, and the day before his enlightenment experience, he gets dullness. Amazing. And he's just like falling all over. He's falling into like he falls over at the end of the meditation path, gets up again, he falls over again. I've done that. I walk and I'd be so sleepy, I fall like crazy. But for him, it was something about the mind, and he would just keep looking at that. Well, if it began, it will end. And the next day, there's that enlightenment thing. It's an amazing kind of. So we don't know sometimes how it all works. All right. So that's that. And that's, when I do the Zoom calls, I think I told you, sometimes I see the tops of heads. Sometimes I like to poke the screen. Like an iPad, you can. Thank you for the suggestion to check in with the mood of the mind upon awakening. It has been very helpful in creating awareness and choice. How to sustain that in the stream of consciousness that you referred to? Well, one thing is that the moods we have are not that varied. We usually have like 4 or 5, right? It's not a great repertoire. It's like whining, anxious, maybe a Walter Mitty fancy about buying something. Yeah, they're not. But the particulars that they manifest on are innumerable. So anxiety, the things one can be anxious about are innumerable. Complaining about life, that's innumerable. Things you could shop for, So once you kind of figure your mind out that way, that the moods of the mind actually are pretty discrete packages, which then proliferate on whatever's available. So if you're in a monastery with 10 people, your anger will find one of them. Where else is it going to go, right? Or if you live a celibate life and you have no movies in your life, you're going to be greedy for mangoes, right? Because that's where greed can go. So you begin to see, okay. Then you say, the mood of the mind you identify in your own consciousness. Oh yeah, this is anxiety. So that's where that labeling idea is very, very good. And so you're always monitoring your inner world, not in a self-obsessive way, but in an observation way. And what you're monitoring is the thought patterns and the I thinking, my thinking. And you're seeing, oh, what is that? Oh, yeah, that's complaining. Say, oh, yeah, complaining feels this way. Then you're mindful, the mood of the mind. Whereas if you just try to be someone who never has a mood in their mind, when the mood of complaining comes up, then you complain that you shouldn't be complaining. It's just endless. So it's not through thought, it's through awakening. So that's a very good technique, that naming or labeling. Then if you're a doubter, you won't know what mood you have. And you say, is that complaining? And that's doubt. Doubt is the most brilliant one. It can keep you running for days. Because you think there's some objective answer to the doubt. And that's thought. That's just thought. So that helps. Then, saying the thought is very helpful. So you're much more conversant with the moods of the mind, and so there's a complaining thought in the mind, and you realize you tend to try to suppress that, not have that, and you just say it. Say, that banana yogurt was terrible. You really complain, but then you stop. I mean, don't keep going. You stop and say, oh, this is no thought. So you actually use the complaining thought process to propel you back into awareness. And then you bring it to no thought by thinking deliberate. That's very, very helpful. So you feel guilty about something which is really not really that problematic, which is the habit of guilt and self-disparagement. You say it a couple of words. Yeah, you're a murderer, Viradhammo. You didn't copy the grape. That's a nasty joke. It's that. But you use the thinking pattern to propel yourself back into awareness. Because what we usually do is we try to get rid of thought. It won't work. And then hopefully you also start to notice when the thought ends, because it's not always there. So you start to notice there's the end of thought. It feels this way. So as you wake up to the thinking patterns in the mood, you label the mood maybe, and then when you notice that thought has manifested, it's actually the moment that's the moment thought ceases, because you notice it as an object. And you start to say, oh, this is the end of thought. Or the gap, this is no thought. You can do that deliberately. No thought feels this way. Do it deliberately. And then you start to see the arising of thought as it starts to come up into consciousness. So you get very, very good at understanding thinking, which is for human beings, it's very difficult. I mean, it's such a compelling, the narratives are so compelling. So you're kind of, you're not obsessing about your inner world. It's not narcissistic in that way, but you become very attentive, even within your normal functioning life. You get very attentive. Oh yeah, you're talking, interviewing someone, and you're getting annoyed at them. Oh yeah, and annoyance feels this way to yourself, and then We all do that. Otherwise, we just be in arguments all the time. You keep enhancing that. The situation at work is overtaking my efforts on this retreat. This is someone who is online. I am increasingly plotting and planning what might be said and done, which is all fantasy. I look for my failings in my reaction to it. There are problems, and I will pursue addressing them after the retreat. But can I do anything now to still my fussing? Well, what I said probably. First of all, fussing feels this way, as opposed to a strategy to stop fussing, because that's the desire. So the fussing mind starts to, I'll say this, and then I'll say that, and then I'll say this, and then but then they might say this. So that, and then the fussing mind says, shut up, will you? So then now you got two people in the argument. And that's the error. It's that second person coming in and saying, shut up, fussing mind. And so that's where the awakening to a mood of the mind is different than the rejection of it. And that's where the language of fussing feels this way. And you could say that and still be trying to get rid of it, can't you? If I say that, it'll go away. Fussing feels this way. It doesn't work that way. It's a softness. Oh, yeah. And then it'll come up a lot because now you've identified it, but now you see it more as a pattern and you have to keep doing it a million times because it's such a strong pattern. Or then you say it deliberately in that same, you can see the logic of that. The person is trying to get rid of fussing mind. And, I came here to meditate. I didn't came here and all that. That's more fussing. So then you use it. I'm going to say this. And then you stop. Oh, stopping feels this. It'll come right up again. Do it again. Fussing. So it's like if you learn how to sharpen a chisel. Chisels are really hard. Like curved chisels. They're very hard, aren't they? Have you found that? So it takes a lot of training. You just got to do it a lot. In the same way with these habits of mine. So if the person looks at if this person were to look at this as, sure, it's a hassle on the retreat, but when are you going to learn about it? Now. So in that sense, it's a good thing because it's not there. It's there all the time. So on a retreat, you've got this kind of, so that's putting a kind of, it's putting a positive spin on it, but not to dismiss it. Putting the context. Okay, this is what I'm going to practice. It's like if I get a hickory is a very difficult wood to plane because it just likes to shred. Very difficult wood sometimes. So I could say, well, I use cherry. It's much easier. No. Then I'll learn with hickory. I'll learn how to plane that wood. And that's a kind of idea. No. This retreat is about fussing, rather than if I had a retreat without fussing, I could be really happy. Yeah, sure. You didn't have a history and a mind. So you change the kind of scale of values to no, the retreat is about fussing. And so for this person, you imagine, you figure this out, a little bit of this it's going to serve you the rest of your life. So it's very, very valuable that way. I won't reveal who this is. It's a good friend. Okay, I think that's the ball game. Let me just check. See that? Yes.
Andamayang Dhammo Vadakatha Sadhukarang Dadamase Sadhu Sadhu
Very nice. Sadhu. Let's do the reflections on the Brahma Viharas on page 43. 43, I think. Yeah. Suffusion with divine abidings, page 43. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with compassion. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with compassion, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with gladness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with gladness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with equanimity. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. And a closing comment. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi Vakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Okay, everyone, good night or good morning.